Legendary Podcast.
Somewhat legendary.
Top of the morning to you, legends. Welcome back to another episode of Somewhat Legendary
Podcast, baby.
He's your boy,
Prince Evan.
I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what?
And he's your boy,
Irish J. Swindle.
That's how I roll. I have one speed. I have one gear. Go.
So, Prince, what's new in the news?
Nothing much going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one of my favorite guys of all time, someone who has totally shaped the way music is done and changed the way music is done. Would you mind introducing yourself to our guest?
Yeah, man. Max Cavalera here. Cavalera Conspiracy, Soulfly, Killer BQ.
He's in the building!
We are really, really honored to have you, and thank you for your time, and we really appreciate it. And so we have so much to talk to you about, and I know you don't have much time, so we'll make it quick. The Killer Be Killed project.
That stuff is awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was, kind of done in the last minute. Didn't really exactly know what we were doing, just kind of got together with Greg and start writing some songs, and kind of just went for it. It was a little bit like Nailbomb, like how I had Nailbomb back in the 95, and it was fun, man. I really liked the record. I was surprised with the reaction. They got a really good reaction from the fans, and really good critics. A lot of people really like the record a lot, and I just love to keep busy, man. I love playing music, and it's either with Cavalera right now, I'm on tour, or Soulfly got a new album coming out in August, or Killer BQ next year, So I just love to stay busy, stay, focused in metal.
Oh, that's great, man. So we got a new Soulfly album coming and a new Killer Be Killed album coming, correct?
Yeah, Soulfly comes out August. It's called Archangel, and it's a beast. It's incredible.
Nice.
I'm so excited for people to hear because it's very exotic and very epic. I never quite went epic like that on a record. It's really grandiose kind of record, very artistic, very cool stuff on the songs. The songs have very different passages, and I think it's an album that people, when they hear, they're gonna be like, "Wow, this is really, Max enter a new era with this record." So I'm really hoping that people get what I'm trying to do with Archangel, because it is kind of a new beginning for me in terms of writing of influences, and I really like how the record came out. Zion playing drums, my son Zion did a great job, and Mark Rizzo did some amazing guitars, and so it's going to be a really cool record, and it comes out in August, and we're going to tour for the record right after the album comes out.
That's awesome. I cannot wait to hear it. Soulfly is one of the bands that got me into metal way back when. Super band. Love you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's the record's been done. It's pretty much all done right now. I finished singing a month ago. It's produced by Matt Hyde. He produced Slayer,
nice.
God Hates Us All, and Inside. He also did Torn for Pyros and Children of Bodom. So he's a great producer, and he brought a lot of really great sounds to the record and really great ideas. And so it was a great team effort. Everybody really worked hard on the new Soulfly record to try to make the best album possible. I'm, of course, listening to all the heavy stuff that I listen to these days. The influence is all there. Everything from Watain to Our Penance,
Nice.
1349. I mean, it's all brutal, all brutal influences, and it's all captured in the music, so it's great.
Well, going back to when you first came to the scene, American metal had an attitude, and you brought the Brazilian attitude, and people were just like, whoa, what is this? It was just so brutal, so intense, and there was so much passion in it. What were some of your influences back then, and what are some of your inspirations for the lyrics that you wrote and that you continue to write today?
Yeah, my inspiration stays the same. You know, I like the simplicity. I grew up with listening to a lot of metal and hardcore. Those are my two favorite styles of music. You know, like me and Igor were pretty much in Sepultura. We were the corner that always had, you know, like a lot of New York hardcore. You know, a lot of Agnostic Front and Sick of It All and Biohazard and you know, Murphy's Law, and of course the old earlier punk stuff, Black Flag, Bad Brains, and then Dead Kennedys, and then the European stuff, Discharge, GBH, and of course the trash came Slayer, you know, Morbid Angel, Obituary, all great music, man. And I just think that in terms of lyrics, we found our own identity when we did Beneath the Remains, because before that we were just kind of more death metal, and we were like copying it, Sodom and Destruction and Celtic Frost. And when Beneath the Remains came on, we wrote stuff like Eat Yourself, which is pretty much very personal. It's almost like a diary song about your own life. And I think that changed everything. And a lot of people quote Beneath the Remains as being one of the most influential thrash records ever made. And
Sure.
all this stuff. You know, I just think it's cool that we found our identity, you know, that we had our own sound and voice. And I never changed since then. You know, I still the same today. I still kind of write the same. I try to find different topics. Or now, of course, try to do different stuff with the lyrics and sounds. But it's always coming from the same place. So it's always going to have a trademark, which is what I like about my lyrics, my riffs, and my voice. Is that it's got identity. You know, it's mine, and I'm not copying anybody. And
Big time.
I got my own style that I'm proud of it, and you know, so it's cool to have your own identity. You know.
Sure. We had Spike Cassidy from DRI on the show last week, and when we asked him what do you listen to nowadays, Spike, and he said anything that Max Cavalera does, I listen to, because you know it's going to be good. It's solid product. And it doesn't matter who you're working with. I mean, you've worked with everyone from Jello Biafra to Tom Araya to Roger Moret. What is it about you that enables you to have that kind of versatility and work with guys that have completely different skill sets and completely different influences? How do you balance that?
Well, first I want to thank Spike for saying that. That's very nice of him, and I'm a big DRI fan, and so it's awesome to hear that from a guy like that. And you know, growing up listening to Crossover, I Don't Need Society, and great songs that they did. And as far as I just love music, man. I'm a music freak. You know, I'm a metalhead, a metal freak, and I get along good with people, and especially with collaboration. You know, and I love doing these collaborations with other artists. And all Soulfly records have other people in it, and it's always going to be like that. We're always going to have guest vocals, and I love working with different kind of people, like you mentioned, Jello Biafra, Tom Araya, you know, David Vincent, you know, guys from Mastodon, Killer BQ, Greg from the Linger Escape Plan. You know, it's all great. You know, it's all part of it. And I think you grow as a musician also when you work with a lot of people. You learn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every day you learn something new. It's almost like going to school, you know. It's like you're learning. It's a learning process. When you jam with other people, when you write songs with other musicians, it's like a learning thing, and you're always learning something new, and it's so killer, man. And I love everybody I work with, man. I don't have a favorite. It's so many to even have a favorite, you know. I mean, great memories, you know. Sean Lennon, you know, Chino from the Deftones, and you know, Mike Patton, you know, so many killer artists, and there's so many more I want to work with. So, you know, it goes on, you know.
That's amazing, and I'm sure they want to work with you as well.
I know. I'm really into a lot of young new bands. You know, I listen to a lot of Noise and Full of Hell. Noise, a new record just came out, and it's just blew me away. It's so good. If you haven't heard it, go check it out, man. It's great. It's called Blossom Decay, and it's an amazing, amazing record.
I haven't, and I will check it out.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to check it out yet. I heard it was killer, but I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet.
Oh, it's my favorite record right now that I'm listening to it. It's really, really great.
So I wanted to ask you, I wanted to tell you actually, you and I have something in common. We both unfortunately lost our fathers around the same age. I was 10. I think you were 9 when your father passed away.
Yeah.
You did talk about that in your autobiography, My Bloody Roots, which is awesome. How's that going? How's the autobiography going? How has it been received? What are the reviews? What's the feedback that you get from that?
Yeah, really good, man. It was really good to actually made the book and tell the story to the whole world, and told many of the things about me, like that being baptized in the Vatican, and some kind of folk stories about like puking on Eddie Vedder and you know funny shit like that some people knew, but not everybody knew. So I was like, we gotta put that in the book. That's metal history right there in the making, you know. And so it was a hard process. It was 3 years on the making of the book, and I did 1,000 interviews, and this guy Joe MacGyver helped me out from England. He's a great writer. He wrote some amazing books, and I'm just glad that the book came out. It was actually my wife's idea to make the book. Gloria, she's the one that. She's like, I think you got an amazing story that the world needs to hear your story, because it's very unusual. You come from Brazil, from a small town in Brazil, and you make it all the way to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you know it's quite a journey, and people need to know about that. And so we worked very hard on it, and I'm very proud of it. And now I can kind of almost like rest easy now. I can almost like put my mind to ease, and now that is all there. People can read it anytime they want, find out about me. Just go to My Bloody Roots. Read it on My Bloody Roots. It's all there. The whole story, as honest as I could possibly done it. And with very great people involved, like Dave Grohl did a great intro for the book for me, which was a nice thing that he did, man. Nice guy, and very big fan of metal, big fan of Sepultura. And so it's a great book. I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud that people are digging it. And I've been signing a lot of copies on the tour. Every night, I think somebody brings one for me to sign. Almost one or two every night. Right, and
that's awesome.
No doubt about it. And Gloria was 100% right. It's you bare your soul in the book. I'm not surprised it took 3 years to write.
We wanted to make sure the book stayed interesting and not boring, So it was like, I told Joe MacGyver, like, I want when people to read this thing, I want them to be really wondering what's the next chapter going to be like, put them on the toes, So it was like, let's try and make this thing as exciting as it can be, and I think we did it. I think I read it, and I felt really good reading. I felt it was really cool, and really took me back to the old days, and it was great,
Well, Max, I really appreciate your time tonight. It's been awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I have one quick question for you. Who's your favorite Brazilian fighter?
Fighter?
Yeah.
I have to say Anderson Silva, of course.
Yeah. That's what I thought you were going to say, and I agree with you 100%.
Although the Diaz brothers are big Soulfly fans, but they're not Brazilian. But I have to give big props to the Diaz brothers.
Oh, they're so interesting to watch. I love watching those guys fight for sure. Well, Max, I really appreciate your time tonight. It's been awesome, brother. Thank you so much. Much love to you and your family.
Totally looking forward to the new Soulfly album.
We'll definitely be
it comes out August 14, guys. Keep your eyes open for it.
Definitely will, brother.
For sure, Max. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yep, take care, man.
Thanks.
So, what are the odds when you were younger and you were listening to a band like Sepultura that you thought you'd ever get to talk to that guy?
Never in a million years.
Not in a million years. I agree. And not because he didn't seem like an awesome dude, but just he seems larger than life. Yeah. And he kind of is. Like, he's an icon. That is one of the guys, that style that they brought, man, there was nothing heavier. When Sepultura first came in,
there was nothing
mix,
heavier.
There was I mean, like I said to him, American metal had an attitude, and he came in and he was like, you know what, I'm from another country, here's my attitude. So now metal just has this international attitude now, because when he came in, there weren't a lot of bands with people from other countries or people from other ethnicities,
there really wasn't,
and that kind of thing. And now there's bands all over the world, man. There's bands like El Nino and Puya and Sepultura, and there's tons of bands I can't even think of.
Because all the bands from Germany. You have Architects and bands from Australia that are down there. Capture the Crown. They're all from Australia, and it's all I mean, it's a big worldwide community of metal, and we're happy to have a little piece of that. I mean,
Right.
Last week, Spike from DRI.
Amazing.
This week, Max from
he's from like 9 different
Everything.
bands. Yeah, he's been in so many bands. It's hard to keep track of all of them, and I mean that in a good way.
Surreal.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that everybody wants to jam with, everybody wants to play with, and he said it himself. When you hear his voice, there is no question.
Nope.
There are a ton of imitators, but there's one originator, and that's Massimiliano Antonio Cavalera.
Absolutely. I wish we had more time with him. I know he's super busy. It was awesome. We had 15 minutes with him, actually, to talk with him at all. But the coolest part, and absolutely, he nailed it on the head. The metal world, rock world, is flooded. You know, you hear a vocalist, they're screaming, they all sound the same. There's nobody that sounds like Max.
There's nobody.
You
that
hear
sounds
his
like
voice,
Max.
you're like, oh, that's Max Cavalera.
Yeah, and his riffs too. His riffs are really recognizable. He brings that Brazilian flair, which has such a groove, man. Like that. I don't want to say they brought necessarily like it wasn't around, because Pantera had a bit of a groove.
Yeah.
Like you had Megadeth, you had Metallica.
Yep.
They're like speed metal musicians, and that was the big thing. But bands like Sepultura, like Biohazard, like Pantera, they brought that groove, man, and that's what really sucked me in. Like I always liked Megadeth and Metallica and Slayer for they were like architects, man. They were engineers.
And Sepultura started the breakdowns, just those driving.
Yeah,
Boom,
I agree with that.
boom,
Those breakdowns,
boom.
those time changes, man, like they just break your neck, and
Nothing
everyone
better.
in the pit just goes nuts.
There's nothing better. The last 30 seconds of Territory, it seriously almost cost somebody their life.
Yeah, because you kicked them in the face because you couldn't control yourself.
I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it. It was just that heavy, and it caught me at that moment. So if you didn't listen to the last 30 seconds of Territory, pause this podcast, go listen to that, then come back and continue listening to us.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the best parts of any song. So good. And the Brazilian drums that are going the whole way through, it builds you up to a frenzy. You can see why like those types of drums are used for like warriors and to prepare people to go to battle.
Yep.
It just, I don't know, there's something innate inside of you. There's something that touches that
Primal. Primitive.
Exactly. There you go. Back to the primitive. And it truly is. It's an international language. It's just something that you hear it and you automatically connect with people, and you don't care what race they are. You don't care what they look like. You don't care.
They might not even speak the same language as you,
Right.
but if
A
you
lot of
put on a
times they don't.
Sepultura record, you're both listening to Territory, you're both listening to Refuse to Resist. You can literally sing along.
Or then you go a little further to the Roots album.
Yeah.
That album's amazing. That drop tune, heavy, just driving. And they got the videos where they're in Brazil and guys are doing capoeira and, you know, they're down by the water and they're just, it's amazing. And then you got Soulfly, and Soulfly is just almost like, you hear that? The first record and the very first song, when that comes in, Eye for an Eye, I think is the first song in that. That's going back. It's Testimony. I think it's Eye for an Eye. You can hear a riot to that song. Like, if you just played that song at, let's say, Disney World or Disneyland, and people just walking around peaceful, looking for rides to go on with their kids. If someone played Eye for an Eye by Soulfly, it would be instant pandemonium. Everything would be set on fire. People would just be punching each other in the face. It's just...
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It's like a controlled rage when you hear something like that. It really is a controlled rage, because the inside of you is just like freaking out, but the outside, if you go to shows and stuff, I mean, you can let out some aggression, and it's usually from the outside looking in. If you didn't know anything about metal, and you went to a metal show and you saw people hitting and pushing and punching each other, most of the time it is actually kind of controlled.
Yeah.
If you're in that world, it is controlled.
But if you're looking from the outside in, it looks like, oh my god, this is Armageddon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
It's really not. I've had so many friends tell me different stories. Mike Hatzavasilis, who's been on our show, Hats, his brother Mitch, they actually are. He was in a band called Section 8. I know they shared a practice space with Sepultura back in the day, and he would always tell me stories. And this is going back years. Like, this is going back maybe 15, 20 years. And Mitch would tell me all these stories about Sepultura. And they were known then, but they weren't nearly... They're an international name now. This was, this was back in the day.
Yeah.
So he would just tell me these stories about these guys, and he's actually the one that got me into them. And I'll never forget when I heard Chaos AD, when I heard the beginning of that song with that real fast. I think that's a heartbeat. I think that might be Zion, his son's heartbeat in the beginning of that. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard that.
Wow.
And then he's like, Zion, that it's just like that riff is the soundtrack for the apocalypse. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
they're so good at capturing that. And I don't know, I can't gush enough about this band. They're just awesome, and I want to thank Max again for coming on, and thank you for taking time, and I want to thank your family for allowing you to spend some time with us tonight and share some stories and tell us what's going on and what's new with you guys. And we support you, and we encourage our listeners to do the same. And I think most of them do anyway. So.
Absolutely. And I want to thank all of our listeners because we're up to almost 80,000 listeners right now. And without you guys, Max Cavalera wouldn't be calling into our show.
No, he wouldn't.
Spike Cassidy wouldn't be calling into our show. We wouldn't have all these great people from
Ben
Lancaster.
from Black Cowgirl wouldn't be.
We want to thank both those guys because they heard the podcast, trusted enough to come on and share stories with us, and it's been totally awesome. And hey, we can't tell you what's in store next, but look out.
Yeah. I told you when we did our show with just me and you, I mentioned we may have a couple little surprises, and you may have heard their names. Did we deliver or what?
You got it.
We delivered.
Somewhat
As
legendary. Always relevant, always current.
Thanks for listening, legends.
For Irish J. Swindle.
I'm going with Prince.
For Prince Evan.
Peace.
See ya.